doing? I'm writing. Like you'll be when you start punching those keys.
Secretariat is not afraid.
Oh, you remember these movies? First it was Finding Forrester from 2000, and then in 2010 it was Secretariat. We're excited to catch up with the screenwriter of both those movies, Portland-based screenwriter Mike Rich.
Yeah, well, his latest project is a debut novel called Scavengers Hunt. It's a mix of magic and history, a fantasy novel for the middle school reader. So we want to welcome Mike Rich to the couch this afternoon. Hello.
Yay!
I know Rod
terrific to be
loves Secretariat. He got so excited when he heard you were coming on the couch today.
We were talking about that a little bit beforehand.
Well, let's start with this. Why the switch to writing a book?
I think it's something I always wanted to do. It was like a creative itch that needed to be scratched. And I have 3 grandchildren now, and this was the type of book that when I was growing up in northeastern Oregon that I really liked.
Enterprise.
Enterprise, that's right, yeah. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. I loved those stories when I was growing up, so I wanted to write something that was at least similar in theme.
You also, for the grandkids, were screenwriter on Cars 3. That had to be a lot of fun.
Let me tell you, if you want to be popular with your grandchildren, I highly recommend writing a Pixar project.
Quick way to get popular.
Yeah. What was it like, Mike, making that transition from working with human actors to then writing the words for these animated characters?
It was one of the first bits of advice that they gave me. They said, don't treat them as animated cars, treat them as human characters when you're writing them. And it was different for me because almost all the other feature films that I've worked on, it's been kind of a solitary endeavor, just me staring at the computer. And this time you had animation teams, you had a room filled with 15 storyboard artists, so it was kind of a welcome change for me.
Where do you get the inspiration for the characters? Do you pull from life experiences or people you've met before?
You always do pull from life experiences, but I think I think you can always kind of see the story. At least I can.
Well, beginning with Finding Forrester, that was based on Mrs. Forrester, your high school English teacher.
Yeah.
What was her reaction to that character?
It was. I waited until I knew it was going to be a film, and when I got that bit of news, I gave her a call, and she was. She was taken aback. She really, she was my teacher all 4 years when I was at Enterprise High School.
Were you an A student?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Did you get an A in her class?
I was
no?
well.
Did she say Mike who?
We swapped the story back and forth where I wrote it, and I frankly was kind of mailing it in at that point on that particular piece, and she gave me a C on it, and I challenged her on it, and she said, no, it's not your best, and I remember that. Really
she pushed
clearly.
you. She pushed the best kind of teachers.
I've always wondered, when you're writing about something that's happened in real life, I'm talking about one of my favorite movies, Secretariat.
Yeah.
Did you go meet Mrs. Chinnery, I believe is the character's name?
I sure did.
And you had a chance to talk with her and have her tell you her story?
It's one of my favorite parts of the process is research, and I've had the opportunity to do that with The Rookie and other, true stories. But yeah, I went back to Boulder, Colorado, which is where she was, and I spent several days back there just listening. Yeah, exactly. And then at some point, they begin to trust you, hopefully, and then you find out what is going to be the spine of your story.
I'd love to learn more about your new novel. So it's called Scavengers Hunt. How different is it when you go from screenwriting to writing a novel like this?
It's completely different, and it was more different than I thought it was going to be because of the fact that when I write a scene for a film, the film does the describing because I don't have to really describe what the setting is, but boy, in a book you have to be description.
And your love of history comes through in this book.
Yeah, I was excited to layer in a little bit of a history lesson into a book for young readers, so maybe give them a little bit of history and they don't know they're getting it, and it's just part of the narrative.
Your grandkids old enough to read this book yet?
Not quite yet.
Not yet, okay.
But it'll be sitting on the bookshelf for them.
I said to you, this feels like a movie to me, but you said maybe TV.
Yeah, and now we live in this new era when you can, if you want a 5-part series, 7-part series, they'll
So it's a possibility we'll see Scavengers Hunt on television. I can't let Mike leave the couch without asking about his days at Oregon State. Fellow Bees. In fact, we were down there at the same time.
Kathy, wait a minute. We're talking about his work as an author here.
But I want to know how your Oregon State education, a business grad, figures into your career now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they call it show business, right? So, you know, I look back on those days at Oregon State. They truly were some of the best days. That's where I met my wife, and we still get down there for football season for every game.
Yeah, I have to ask because, you know, being that you love a good sports story, there's a couple on campus right now. We've had the run for the national championship
Yes.
twice in baseball.
Yes.
We got a football coach now who was a walk-on, mentored by his previous coach. I mean, come on, Mike, some good material there.
I'm a sucker for an underdog story.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I heard John Canzano on the radio one day saying,
did say that.
somebody call Mike Rich. We've got a screenplay right here.
So subtle.
Okay,
Thanks so much for being here.
we're finished with the begging part of our show now, Kathy. Are we?
And Mike, where can people find your book?
They can find it any place that they usually do, Amazon,
Okay.
Wherever.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Thank
on your
you.
Thanks very
success.
much.
Yeah,
Thanks for
keep
the
us
invite.
posted.
Will do.